Hello, punksters. Um, it's Janine here. Sorry I can't be with you in person, but as it's May Day, happy May Day, everyone. International Workers' Day. I'm actually doing a real life gig, so I have recorded this for you, and I thought I'd do you a little compilation of some videos of my poems. So the first one up is a tribute to Stefan Kusch of the Men They Couldn't Hang, who sadly died earlier this year. And there's a type of poem called a golden shovel, which pays tribute to another poem, or in this case, a lyric. And what you do is you take a bit of the lyric and you make the words the last words of the lines of the new poem, if you follow what I mean. Anyway, this is it, and it's called Ribbons of Scarlet.
There's been gunfire, there's been drinking. You can hear the victory voice on the chapel door and the courthouse. The posters say rejoice. Whoa, ribbons, scarlet ribbons, carouseling in the sun. Whoa, ribbons, scarlet ribbons, there's one for everyone.
At the peal of the bell, they don't tell you there's a field that not everyone comes back from. The survivor's been fearing that he'll never stop hearing the gunfire, even when the bunfight has stopped. And there's a vision you don't come back from. He's been seeing his mate in pieces, and only the drinking makes the thinking vision blurred. You've heard, you can smell the stench of the rancid trench, and you can hold in your arms the passing of life into cold, and you can hear the tears and the bangs and taste the tangs of the gunpowder and gas, and even if you do savour victory, its flavour smacks of death. His voice won't sing these songs anymore, but on those war glory days we can go back to the parade grounds of our own, singing along in the chapel of the men out on tour. We left fear at the door and dripped sweat and spilled beer on the floor and raised hands and voices to the songs of the battles, the mutiny, the scaffold and the courthouse. What more can we need? Cush and Swill and the boys raise a toast, make the noise of rebellion. The posters of lineups put mine up, stand back and say that, hey, we can bellow out the truth and have fun. Rejoice. So the medals hang from ribbons, and the poppy's petals are scarlet, and the halls festooned with ribbons. Remembering, dwelling, carouselling, rousing calls to fight again, just in case this war didn't end war after all. The main thing is that we won. Our boys bled out for a day in the sun. So wave your sanguine ribbons for those whose blood ran scarlet, whose tissue hung in ribbons. There's a gift that some songs give you, and there's loss you don't come back from. But there's one thing I come back to, something that he sung for, the bloody truth that war is not glorious for everyone.
So there you have it, Ribbons of Scarlet, R.I.P. Cush. Okay, so for the next one, I've delved into the back catalogue a bit, really. This is a poem that I wrote in 2014, which was the year that I restarted doing poetry after a 25-year break. And this is a poem, I was going to say it's tell you what it was a poem about, but I think it explains itself as we go along. This is called Real Rape.
It's called Real Rape. If she's drunk, or she's flirty, or a boozy young floozy, if she likes talking dirty, if she isn't that choosy, if she touched him or kissed him and she then changed her mind, if she's scared to resist him, if she liked it last time, if most everyone knows that she usually says yes, if she shows off her toes, if she wears a tight dress, if she's not in great shape, then it's not really rape, is it? If the guy's her boyfriend, if they're out on a date, if they share some enjoyment, if they stayed up quite late, if he's rich or he's famous or a top football star, then it's not quite the same, that's just going too far. If the man is convicted but keeps on denying, says it's wrongly depicted, if his girlfriend stands by him, his name's in the paper, then he didn't really rape her, did he? If the girl never fought it, if she lay back and cowered, if she didn't record it until after she'd showered, if she didn't speak out until months or years later, then there's reasonable doubt about this perpetrator. And if nobody saw and if nobody heard, then you're going to need more than that woman's word. With no videotape, then it's not really rape, is it? And if it comes to a court, we'll explain to the jury that we all know her sort. You know, hell hath no fury. She's just angry and bitter because he's dumped her and left. It's not like he hit her, she's just sad and bereft. If she's mentally ill, then you cannot believe her. She's forgotten her pill, or she's scared that he'll leave her. It's a trick, play or joke, but it's not really rape. Is it? It's not really rape. It's just bad bedroom manners. It's not really rape, she's just trying to scam us. It's not rape, says a shirt. It's a snuggle with a struggle. She's not really hurt, she's just trying to cause trouble. It's not really a crime, it's another blurred line. You know, men don't have time to decode every side of the sexual landscape. So it's not really rape, is it? Real rape takes place on a poorly lit lane with a mask on the face of a man who is insane. Real rape's committed by sick monsters with knives and by psychos and rippers, not by ordinary guys. Real rape victims are angels. They're sober and chaste. They're jumped on by strangers. They report it post-haste and they try to escape. We'll accept that's real rape. Please, let's stop making out there are some rapes worth less, or they somehow don't count. As the slogans will stress that wherever we go and however we dress, the word no still means no, and yes will mean yes. And she says neither word, or you can't really tell, then she hasn't concurred, and so that's no as well. It's consent seals the deal, and without it, rape's real. Thanks.
So I do have this little hobby of rewriting lyrics from some of my favourite songs, and in particular, if I have a favourite song that tells a story from a bloke's point of view, I like to rewrite it telling the story from the woman's point of view. And my favourite one of these that I've done was rewriting "Up the Junction" by Squeeze. Which I'm sure loads of you will remember. For those of you who don't, it's a bloke telling the story of how he gets together with his girlfriend and she gets pregnant and he drinks too much and they break up and then she runs off and it's all a bit sad. So I rewrote it from her point of view and called it "The Girl from Clapham." And I, on a bit of a rush of blood to head, wrote to Chris Difford, the original lyricist, and he wrote back and said he really liked it. So I said, what if we record it? So I, Doris, which is a feminist punk band based in London, recorded it. And you can watch this now. You can also, if you want to, buy the track on Bandcamp on iDoris's page for £1, and all your pounds go to Women's Aid for their excellent work in supporting women and children who are victims of domestic violence, whether in Clapham or more broadly. So here we go, "The Girl from Clapham."
face was cute and handsome. That's when we began some adventure, most romantic, impassioned, snorting antics. He said I wasn't common, his child lines were rotten. We rented an apartment and sat there in the darkness. Our income for domestics could not afford electrics, till he got a job on Sundays, logging up our fundies. When we got the lucky, sat there watching telly. I put up lines and pictures, we wanted to get hitched, but our money we'd be needing for another mouthful feeding. He said that I had trapped him, didn't know how it happened. Told him in his anger, it takes two to tango. We squabbled through the winter, I felt and he drank bitter. He worked from dawn to evening while I did all the cleaning. Cleaned up all the crap that he left around the flat and thought I was in prison as a girl in my condition. When we had the baby, he said he'd help me, maybe. Tried to make an effort, pretty soon he left it. Took the telly for a pony, then pissed it up with Tony. Spent weekends like a loafer, passed out on the sofa. Now I'm 2 years older, I'm living with a soldier. He's always on his travels, so my life unravels. Swapped a drunken loser for a fighter and abuser. It's just me and my daughter, alone on the waters. Alone here in the barracks, I'm peeling spuds and carrots, cooking stew and dumplings, a radio for company. Now the stupid beggar has sent another letter. With his and my dysfunction, we're really up the junction.
In 2017, a fire in Grenfell Tower in London killed over 70 people, and they still don't have justice. So this is a poem about that called A Tale of Two Cities, with a fabulous video made by Adrian Mackenzie.
It was the best of times and the worst of times. And the north of the borough gets the worst because of accidents of birth and because that's just the way it works. And yes, you guessed, the south gets the best. And the rest of the country only registered that Kensington had a proletariat when it shocked the commentariat by electing a Labour MP 5 nights before. A fire on the 4th floor grew faster and further than it was supposed to do, and grew from its room and consumed and entombed a tower full of humans. The rich and the powerful were unscorched, untorched. They went untouched, unburned, unburdened by losing pretty much everything. Until then, most folks thought that Kensington hosted mostly royals and millionaires. Not the toilers, but the heirs and your graces in palaces and similar places, and with more money than you could possibly know what to do with. And skeletons. They knew that Kensington had skeletons. Skeletons in its museums, skeletons in its graveyards, and now the skeleton of what hundreds of people used to call home calls out the skeletons from the cluttered cupboards of the town hall, stubborn behind a firewall, a smoke screen wiped clean by the dinosaurs of class rule, the bores and the fools who rush and stomp around, crushing lesser life forms into the ground. The rich and the powerful tightened our belts but not their own, and a tower full of people lost their life or their home. The rich don't live in tower blocks or social housing stocks. When they reside in tall buildings, they are called luxury developments with opulent embellishments and a panoramic view from the penthouse, not a cheap-to-rent house nor a worn and spent house. High flyers in high rises at high prices, high status in high places. They don't live in flats, they live in apartments. They live apart in fire-resistant compartments with state-of-the-art smoke alarms. And so they should. They're entitled to a fire escape, a safe space, a comfortable place to live, but so is everyone. And you can be sure that in every apartment on every floor there is a sprinkler system. And if there is cladding, then it's gilded wrapping with all the trappings, not lined with aluminium, the bare minimum, second best, failed the test, discounted price, discounted advice, discounted concerns about how fast it burns, skin flints, say they're skint, cheap as chips and about as good for you, off the back of a lorry and onto the walls of the towers in the sky where the common people come to live and die. The rich and the powerful get their riches and their power from the labours of the powerful and their neighbours and people like them, like us. The first named dead had fled a war zone. He wanted to go home when the war was done. He was learning skills to help rebuild, but he was killed under enemy fire. People die like this when people live like this, squashed into boxes in tower blocks, put up on the cheap, putting up people, keeping the least possible cost per life lost, per square metre or square feet of prime real estate, a drain on the rates. People die like this because people are made to live like this, by a system that gives only to the few, not a civilised living to the likes of you, by a system like this run by spibs for hire, who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. The rich and the powerful keep their riches and their power, while a tower full of humanity, of friendship and of family, of talent and potential, of working class folk goes up in smoke. It's always the people in the cheap seats. The lower orders, servants' quarters, the back stairs, disrepairs, the slum colony going through life in economy class, the wage slaves, not the masters, the underclassers. And what of those who run this system? The decision takers, policy makers, architects of TMOs and ALMOs and scrapping, rent capping and right to buy and buy to let and let's get by on whatever we can get. A bed, a roof above our head, a home not fit for habitation, voted down the legislation, closed the fire station. Compassion fakers, quick to forsake us. In Kensington or Westminster, hold the line, then resign. Anything to avoid responsibility, anything to pass the blame. Heads must roll, heads must hang in shame. The rich and the powerful give the victims the body swerve, they've got a nerve, while the powerful get donations from neighbours and from strangers that fill the community centre shelves, given by people a little less unfortunate than themselves. The rich and the powerful close the doors in the faces of you and yours to talk about the powerful and sanitise the cause of death and destitution on 24 floors.
Okay, so I'm going to do two more poems, and we're going to get on to the topical issue of COVID-19. So both these poems are from my new book, Unprecedented Rhymes. So I put all my poems about the pandemic into one slim volume, and asked my friends to suggest titles, and they came up with such good ones. I ended up compositing various of them, and it's called Unprecedented Rhymes versus the Virus by Janine Booth, unmuted. Okay, so you can buy that in my web shop, which is www.janinebooth.com/shop. However, you're not allowed to do that until you have made a donation to this very worthy cause, which is hosting this year gig. It's something I've been really happy to give solidarity to over the time that they've been organising these most excellent events. So please do. So yes, do you remember, right, when the pandemic started, when the lockdown started, suddenly all those people who thought that free market economics was the answer to everything suddenly started demanding the government spend money. Funny that, isn't it? So it seems to me that capitalism has been pretty crap at dealing with this pandemic, and this poem is about that. It's called Wherefore Art Thou, Capitalism. No one's saying leave it to the markets. No one's claiming competition's key. The stockbrokers will lead us from the darkness. None are sneering now at stuff for free. No one says that laissez-faire will sort it. No one argues we'll be saved by greed. None declare just those who can afford it should get the test or get the care they need. No one says we need more speculators, and no one's calling care workers unskilled. No one waits for private ventilators. No one thinks compassion should be billed. None contend the rich should keep their fortunes instead of sharing wealth for common good. No one says they wouldn't pool resources and help the sick and frightened if they could. No one says it's fine to charge your damnedest. Supply will match demand and set the prices. None pronounce that mutual aid is madness. No one trusts a banker in a crisis. So where are Adam Smith and Milton Friedman? Where's triumphant capitalism hiding? Where's the wealth of nations when you need them? Tell the stock exchanges when you find them. But keep your guard for when the crisis passes and profit praisers raise their voice anew. When corporate beggars claim their place as masters, remember, solidarity got us through. Tell them that we won't go back to serve them. Tell them profit damages our health. Share the riches, for we all deserve them, and build a democratic commonwealth. Well, thank you very much for listening to this long. You've only got one poem to sit through now, and then we'll be done. So, obviously, it's good that lockdown is gradually easing, isn't it? But am I the only one who's getting a bit anxious about stuff? So this poem, my last one, is about that. But before it starts, might I just remind you to please make a donation and please continue to support the great work that Punk for the Homeless does, and to support in particular Girls Are Allowed and its work with the orphanage, and solidarity to you all. It is May Day, International Workers' Day, so happy May Day, and solidarity to you all. Thank you very much. I've been Janine Booth. Goodbye.
What if I can't stand the train without the carriage to myself? What if I can't stretch and strain and reach up to the luggage shelf? What if all the outdoor seats are taken and the queue's too long? And I don't recognise the streets and can't see left or right or wrong? What if I have lost the knack of getting by in crowded places? What if I just can't go back to seeing scowls and angry faces? What if I can't help but stare at strangers' lips no longer covered? What if noses free and bare shock me like I've just discovered human features for the first time? What if, though I really tried, I still go out at just the worst time, turn around and run inside? What if I've forgotten how a conversation's meant to go, and I don't spot that knitted brow, the gestures I'm supposed to know? What if I can't find my mask, the one I've worn for years and years? What if I'm afraid to ask, my voice box torn out by my fears? What if I weld to the ground? My feet won't move, my mouth won't open, or if it does, it makes no sound. What if all my thoughts are broken? What if I can never buy goods from a non-essential shop? What if when I start to cry, it turns out I can never stop? What if everybody else is coping fine and doing well? What if I'm the odd one out, locked down in my private hell? What if I have missed your touch so much that I can't let you go? What if holding you is such a high that I can't face a low? What if I am like that bird that's let out but it doesn't fly? What if I don't say a word and let these terrors pass me by?